What's up, guys? So, for today, I'm going to talk about The Marvels, which I watched over the past week. So, I'll be giving my non spoiler review at the start, and then midway through, I'll probably talk about briefly, more of my spoiler thoughts on the movie. So yeah, starting off with my non-spoiler review, this movie, coming into this movie, I really had low expectations. And that's for like a lot of reasons, right? I think I'm in the same boat with a lot of people. With, the disappointment of Marvel's output lately. It's been hit or miss, as compared to before where it was always hit after hit. And having rewatched Captain Marvel prior to watching the Marvels, just to get a refresher, and it really made me, remember once again that I'm really not the biggest fan of the Captain Marvel character. I've never been a fan of characters that are just super powered, like Superman and Goku and whatnot. I always felt like, it's hard to tell a story wherein the hero won't have that much trials given how strong they are, not much, the conflict can't be that big really. So with that, watching the movie, I was pleasantly surprised at how much I actually did enjoy it. And I think that's mainly because of Captain Marvel or Brie Larson. I gotta say, to be honest, it was definitely my enjoyment really heavy on Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel. She was definitely the standout in this movie. She really looked like she was having such a fun time in the role, and that wasn't the first time I fell in love with Miss Marvel. Even in her own show, in the Disney Plus show, Miss Marvel, I was really like captivated by her performance. There's just something so infectious with her role, with her performance. It's that fanboyness that she has, that giddiness that she has for, the Marvel heroes, for the Avengers and Miss Marvel. That's what I find so infectious because that's who I am as a fan as well. I watched these Marvel movies as a fan. I'm always so excited to see these heroes once again. I'm excited to see them interact. And to see Miss Marvel have that same reaction, a reaction that I would have, like, if ever, I were to see Captain Marvel or Nick Fury, I would be having the same reaction Miss Marvel would have. And I think it's that infectiousness that really made me enjoy the Marvels so much more. And I think what comes next to that is really the chemistry that the three leads have. I think that the movie shines brightest when the three leads are really interacting with each other. They play off each other really well. The humor and the conflict that they have with each other is really done really well. And it's those moments that really shine. And what I mean by this is the movie is a really short movie. It's an hour and 40 minutes, give or take. And it works in its favor and against it as well. And so, like, going back to what I was saying with the three leads, is that we don't really get a lot of those moments where the three leads can just take the time to nurture the character development among each other, to grow the relationship with each other. It doesn't happen so often throughout the movie, again, because it's such a short movie. But when it does happen, when you do have those scenes that aren't, focused on the action, it's great. It's great that we get this, that time to really, let the character development simmer among the three. And, I really wish we got more of those scenes. And that's where it actually leads me to my next point is that to its favor, the short runtime, I really loved how the movie just kind of just goes running from the start. From the start you get action scene, and then some exposition to the story, and then straight to the next action scene, right? So the movie never felt boring whatsoever. I was always like captivated by what was going on, curious what's gonna come next. So I think with a short runtime, that's where it worked in its favor, wherein like we just kept going and going and going, and I was just entertained from start to end. There was barely any time where I was bored with the movie, except one scene, and I think you know what scene I'm talking about. But we'll talk about that in spoilers when we did some spoilers. But yeah, those are my non-spoiler review for the Marvels. I loved Miss Marvel. I think Brie Larson definitely improved from her first movie, Captain Marvel. In her Captain Marvel, I really found her performance very wooden, very flat, and I think that's also due. I mean, I understand that's probably due to the fact that her role there, her character there, she was dealing with amnesia. She didn't know who she was, so she was confused. But I think she played that too much to the point where she just was not entertaining to watch. There was no charisma whatsoever. Not saying that every superhero should have charisma, but what I mean is just she just wasn't fun in Captain Marvel. She just looked really just flat and very wooden. And I'm happy to say that in the Marvels, that's not the case. At this point, she already seems like she's more accustomed to her role as Captain Marvel, both the character and Brie Larson playing the character. I loved Brie Larson when she would really. I think Brie Larson's Captain Marvel shines brightest when she has someone to banter with, be it Nick Fury, Miss Marvel, or Monica Rambeau. Seeing her banter, really, you get to see like this very fun, very light-hearted, carefree side of hers. And that's not, you don't always see that. Whenever we're dealing with like a serious conflict, she kind of turns on that serious look, serious performance of hers, which I'm not particularly fond of. But when she banters with Nick Fury, I love it. She really has this aura of this childlike personality that comes out, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, she was definitely a better performance compared to Captain Marvel. Another thing I loved with Captain Marvel this time around is her costume and just her wardrobe, her civilian wardrobe, and her hair. She looked great. At all times when I was seeing Carol Danvers, so not in the suit, she looked amazing. I would love to see more of her in that kind of wardrobe and hairstyle. She just looked really cool, I love that whole 90s getup where she has like the jacket around her. Found that really cool, found that really chill. Unique compared to all the other, Marvel heroes we have in the MCU. Other things I really did like, I do love the world building we're having here. So, it's been a criticism that the Marvel movies right now have no direction, right? We've been building plot points or storylines that kind of lead nowhere, or it's like TBD, to be determined. But with this one, what I love about the Marvels is that it's a natural continuation from some of the old properties from the other movies and shows we've been seeing. This is a direct sequel to Captain Marvel. This is a direct sequel to Miss Marvel. It continues, the storyline of WandaVision for Monica Rambeau's character, and it does it in such a seamless way. And what I mean by seamless, if you had missed any of those movies, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, or WandaVision, they kind of bring it up in this movie in such a way where like you're confused. They kind of just say things how it is, and then you carry on from there. They don't make too big of a deal of these things. And I think going forward, that's how Marvel should be doing things. Wherein they'll just give you like a one-line summary or one paragraph scene or whatever, a short scene that gives exposition to those previous entries, and then you just go on forward with the movie. No need to spend too much time on it. It's like, yes, this is what happened in the show. Here we are now. And I find that the Marvel did that perfectly. At no point did I ever feel like, I think audiences would be so confused. So I think that's definitely a good thing that Marvel has been doing. And another thing that I really loved in regards to, this movie expanding the MCU. So going back to saying, like, talking about the plot points that they're spreading in this saga, right? This multiverse saga. I agree that there's there's been no clear direction, and I think that's due to a lot of things, right? That's due to the amount of content we've been getting. There's so many movies and shows spread out that when you carry one plot point in one show, it takes a lot of movies and shows to get to get to the follow up of that one plot point they were building on, right? Case in point, when Miss Marvel came out on June 2022, it ended with, you know, a tease of what's to come in the future, and that was supposed to follow directly with the Marvels a month after. But, you know, COVID happened and rewrites and this and that got pushed to 1 year, you know, to, you know, June. Oh, wait, no, where are we? To November 2023. So, like, more than a year got pushed back. So, from that time, the plot point of Miss Marvel kind of got lost in people's head. But had it been a direct continuation, which it really was supposed to be, the storyline would have really picked up, and, you know, it would have been that classic 1-2 punch that Marvel is known for, with like building up a plot point and then delivering the follow through. And I think, you know, so taking out the whole delays, schedules of how far apart the movies are released, in terms of what they were building from Miss Marvel to the Marvels, I think was really done well. And all of this is really building up towards the multiverse saga. So both Miss Marvel and its follow through with the Marvels is such an important was such an important entry in anticipation for Secret Wars, you know, for the next Avengers movie. And I think it was done in that classic Marvel way where, yeah, again, going back to that 1-2 punch with, you know, giving up with leading with the tease and then delivering with the follow through. They did it really, really well for me. I loved how the movie ended. It's one of those teases where, you know, jaw was on the floor, and I'm excited to see more about it, you know. So yeah, I guess that wraps up my non-spoiler review. So next, we're gonna go with full spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the spoilers, stop watching, watch a movie, and then come back here. Or if you want to get spoiled, which I don't know why people like to get spoiled for movies, then hey, feel free to stay here. So yeah, now we're going to full on spoilers. So where to start off? You know, one of the things I really loved with this movie, going back to what I just spoke about in my non-spoiler, was that 1-2 combo. So, you know, where Miss Marvel ended, which was with the bangles, right? It ended with Captain Marvel like just popping out of nowhere in Miss Marvel's room. I found that like such a good tease at the end of Miss Marvel. It's like, okay, what was that? You know. And for the Marvels to start off exactly from that point, I found that really cool. And, you know, they really expanded on the lore of the bangles, you know. And it feels like that this bangle is really going to be like a key part in, you know, this multiverse saga that, you know, Marvel is telling. And how I start to see this is that this is their version already of doing the whole Infinity Stones. Where in the Infinity Saga, you had different stones spread across different movies, and then they were all leading up to Infinity War and Endgame, right? So they gave exposition on what each stone does, who it ends up with, and, you know, they just give more info about the stones and how it's such a big deal, or will be a big deal come Avengers, right? And I think that's what Marvel has been doing with, you know, the previous movies in this phase we're in. Phase 5, I think, or 4? Phase 5. 4, whichever. And I feel like, yeah, that's what they've been doing, you know. In this phase already, you know, in Multiverse of Madness, we got introduced to incursions, right? Which is when two universes collide, and that will eventually lead to the fall of one or two universes. So now we know that's a thing. And then in Loki, if you guys haven't seen it already, spoilers, full spoilers here, just very, you know, like, go through it quickly, is that Loki already introduces, you know, the existence of the multiverse, you know, that at the ending of Loki season 2 is that now the multiverse exists, you know, like Loki's, taking care of the multiverse and all the branch timelines. So we know that's a thing. And then with Miss Marvel, we now know more about the bangles. The bangles can basically break through space time. And we have characters like American Chavez who can jump through realities or universes. So this is like their new way of like what they did with Infinity Saga. Instead of it being stones, it's like what they started to introduce in this multiverse saga is like, terms and power sets and characters about in regards to the multiverse. Now we know about characters who can travel between universes. We have bangles that can break through space time. So I really like this. That's what I like with the Marvels. We're now getting more context into things that will play a role in the Marvels. But as much as I did like, the whole bangles expanding upon the, what it does, what it doesn't do, what are the repercussions, I did not like the villain. The villain is Dar-Ben. And my problem there from the get-go is that with a character like the Marvels, you're already filling this movie with characters that some people might not know because they did not watch WandaVision or Miss Marvel, right? I feel like having a villain and an actor playing the villain by someone known would have helped, because I think it would have just, it would have been just a better, would have made things more like, I would have been more engaged in learning about the villain. But because the villain was such an unknown, I don't know the actor, I felt detached at times. But that being said, I also did like the story of the villain. I'm a huge fan of villains wherein it's not all about taking over the world or the universe. I do like villains that are somewhat small scale in terms of what their ambitions are, their motives are. And for this one, the motive is simple. We have Captain Marvel, who did wrong to the Kree. They took out their AI and the Supreme Intelligence. And in effect, they lost, the sun, I think, or they lost water, something like that. And so that planet was suffering. And then the villain, Dar-Ben, sought to, fix things, wanted to get the bangles to fix things, to bring back, water, and then to bring back the sun, and, also get revenge with on Captain Marvel. That that's a blueprint for like a good villain story, and I wish that we expanded on that a little bit more. Maybe if how this story was presented, the whole Captain Marvel attacking the Supreme Intelligence, destroying the Supreme Intelligence, that was just done in a flashback, like a 3-minute flashback, or not even 3 minutes, like a 1-minute flashback in the second act of the movie. Came out of nowhere, so there was really no context. You couldn't let things simmer, unlike the gravity of what Captain Marvel did. Because if you really look at it, there's a story to be told there, right? Wherein to this Kree race and to Dar-Ben, they see Captain Marvel as a villain, right? And that would have been such a nice setup for the movie. It would have been great if that was actually the start of the movie. Show why Captain Marvel attacked the Supreme Intelligence, and then let that simmer, like what she did. Maybe she felt guilty, and then you saw the Kree race and that planet suffering. It would have led to like a better, more established villain, with her motives and wanting to get the bangles. And again, that goes back to my point, what I said earlier, that the short runtime works in its favor and against its favor, right? So like against its favor, they didn't have time to tell scenes like this, So maybe like a 10-minute, maybe like 10-15 minutes of adding that scene at the start would have done wonders for, me liking the villain a little bit more. And so, yeah, like going back to the whole MCU building, we finally got, the official arrival of the X-Men in the MCU in Earth 616 or Universe 616. And I think it was done, if you ask me, there could have been better ways that they could have done it. But I feel like at this point, we're like really nitpicking because everyone would have their ideal way of how the X-Men should be announced. Some would want it to be in their own movie first or in a show. But I felt like how this was done in the end was done okay. You know, it did give me it was hype, it came out of nowhere, and I liked it. You know, it worked with the story that was being told. It didn't come completely out of nowhere. Because again, Miss Marvel, the show, already established, the power set of the Bangles, and that carried on into the plot point of the Marvels. So it would make sense how, like, okay, now we're dealing with something that can break through space, time, and universes. Okay, then that was a natural story. It was a natural plot thread, wherein Monica, which, what happens at the end, Monica ends up in a different universe, which is presumably the Fox universe. So it's not like it happened completely out of nowhere. But yeah, I'm happy that we finally got, we already have the X-Men existing here. And again, how this happens, how Monica was able to end up in another universe, it was because of what happened in Loki, right? And the Loki finale premiered, I think, the day before the premiere of the Marvels. And yeah, so Loki ended with Loki holding all the timelines and, taking care of the multiverse. And that follows through with the multiverse all exists already, right? Like, they can now bridging them is something that can happen because that is the choice that Loki, that's what he decided to do, to take care of all the timelines and the universes, right? So now we saw that spill over to the Marvels where, like, Monica Rambeau was able to open, Monica ended up in another universe. So again, it was a great 1-2 punch. But now what I'm curious with is, what is the follow through with that tease of seeing Beast, who was the X-Men we saw at the end of the Marvels? What is the follow through with Monica ending up in that universe and seeing Beast? Do we have to wait another long time to see the follow through for this? Because I really hope that's not the case. Because again, I was saying that I'm starting to see that 1-2 punch that Marvel, was really good, was really like flawlessly good in. I'm seeing it happen again. From Loki. Took quite a while, took a year, but we had Miss Marvel to the Marvels. And then before the Marvels, we had Loki just a day before the finale. So everything, the story threads, the plot points, in revolving around the multiverse saga, it's starting to follow through one after the other, right? So I just hope after the Marvels, whatever comes out next, I think it might be Deadpool already, or no, whatever, I'm pretty sure it's Deadpool. But whatever comes next, and I hope it's soon, I hope it really continues from the Marvels. And then from there, we're getting the ball rolling, and I hope that will help, recover Marvel from all the hate it's been getting lately. And yeah, I really found that tease really good. But talking more about things I didn't like, aside from the weak villain, there's this scene. And if you've seen the movie and you're here right now watching, you know that one scene that I did not like, and I'm pretty sure no one liked. And that is that singing scene. There was like they end up in a planet wherein their language is singing. They had to go all Disney princess, and I found that so useless. So they effectively made, I guess, Captain Marvel their MCU princess because she's a princess in this planet and whatever. And then in this planet they sing, and Captain Marvel sings, and her prince sings. And I know that the prince is like a known Korean actor or singer. Had one of my followers asking what's his screen time. I'd say his screen time is I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. He looked good, you know. I like the costume, looked really regal. But aside from that, the singing from everyone, from Captain Marvel to that prince, was so unnecessary. It's like the whole time you were just wondering, I was just wondering, like, why did we need this? What was the point of this? Could we not have just traveled into like a normal planet, talk in like an alien language? That would have been so much better. And speaking about this alien planet that they went to with singing, you know, so maybe their approach, you know, their thought process here was like, you know, we're going to like a different planet. We want to make it feel like a different planet. But the thing is with this is that we have seen movies, particularly I'm talking about James Gunn with his Guardians trilogy, you know, where they travel to different planets and it really feels like different planets, you know. You have aliens that all look funky, wearing different clothes, speaking different languages. Their buildings are different. You could just tell that their culture is different every time they go to like a different planet. But here, when they went to this planet, it didn't really feel alieny, if that makes sense. Was the singing language their only way of having a different language? So I felt like in terms of like, you know, making this into an alien planet that they visit, I feel like it's, you know, James Gunn has set the standard for these things, and I feel like this was such a huge step back. You know, that scene was so stupid. I have no idea why they did that. That really, like, you could have used up that time to expand more in character development among your three leads. Expand the Act 1, as I was saying earlier, with the villain storyline. So yeah, weird choice. Another thing I really wasn't particularly enjoying was Monica Rambeau. I felt like she didn't have too much to do in this movie. And one of my biggest issues with Monica was I don't really know her powers. Like, she just does stuff, you know? And so, like, when she tried to close the portal from, you know, our universe to the X-Men universe that at the end, like, is this really part of her power? Or is this just, you know, are you just having random powers just to progress the story? Are you, like, having plot powers, basically? So those were my issues with Monica. But something I actually forgot to talk about. One of the things I absolutely loved, absolutely loved, is the action in this movie. The action in this movie is top notch. I haven't seen several action scenes as good as this in a Marvel movie in so long. It was unique. It was choreographed really well, and it was just so fun to see. And not just the action scenes, but them learning how to use their powers with one another. So, like, you know, if both of them use their powers, they're gonna swap places. That scene when they were learning that was really done well. It was so fun to see. Again, that goes back to my point of me enjoying, you know, the three leads, and when they interact with each other, you know, where just downtime, just them talking to each other. That's one of those scenes, you know, that I really enjoyed. And yeah, the action sequences, man, like, so many sequences where, like, if you just follow what one of them are doing, and then when they come back, you know, when they swap back, it's so seamless, you know. Like, Captain Marvel's gonna slide, and then when she swaps with someone, she'll continue sliding, hitting the next person. Found that really cool. Amazing. I mean, one of the best action scenes in all of MCU. You know, it really is a standout for me. I'm really gonna remember this scene. All the action sequences are done well, man. Yeah. So another thing I wanted to talk about, one of the last things I wanted to talk about really, was the Secret Invasion. So yeah, Secret Invasion came out a few months ago, and you would think that this would be a direct follow-up because, you know, the Skrulls were introduced in Captain Marvel, and then continued with Secret Invasion. Nick Fury was a part of it. He's the lead in it. You would think that in the Marvels, which also, you know, featured the Skrulls and the Kree, yeah, and the Skrulls, and Nick Fury's in it, you would think that there would, you know, the plot points of Secret Invasion would be a big deal here. But this is where Marvel dropped the ball. They kind of just brushed off Secret Invasion completely. And what I mean by this is, Secret Invasion ended with Nick Fury pretty like serious, very serious. He was definitely not like a happy guy at the end of the show. But here in the Marvels, he seems to have forgotten about whatever happened with what happened in Secret Invasion. With Earth putting out like a with the president. I think, yeah, the president, officially like hunting the Skrulls, right? It seems like Nick Fury just forgot about all that, and he's so joyful here again. And also Nick Fury, so fun to watch. He seemed like he was having a fun time in this movie. But yeah, with the Skrulls part, like, it seems like this movie just decided to not care about Secret Invasion. So I think we're kind of at this point with MCU where like they're not as seamless as before. Like, they'll carry on some plot points, but I think some plot points they'll just brush it off already. But yeah, it is what it is. I think that's what happens when you're like stuffed with content. You're telling so many stories across movies and TV shows. I think it's hard to follow for a director, for like a production team to follow all the things that came before. And I hope so. Yeah, that's why I hope Marvel dials it back with the amount of content that they're putting out. But yeah, talking about the Skrulls thing. Something interesting I just wanted to talk about. So the problem here, I found really weird rather. So, the Skrulls are displaced. They're all like refugees. They don't know where to go, right? And in the movie, we have Skrulls on the planet, and that's where they're chilling. And the Kree come in with Dar-Ben, and then she destroys, that planet. And now the Skrulls have once again nowhere else to go. And Captain Marvel, is to blame for this. Is a big reason why she's to blame for this. So what does she do? She calls her friend Valkyrie, who pops up really quickly. Cool to see her, by the way. She really looks boss in her suit. Really looks cool. She shows up and asks a favor. Captain Marvel asks a favor to Valkyrie, and that is, hey, these Skrulls have nowhere to go. Can they go with you to Earth in New Asgard? And without hesitating, she's like, yeah, of course, follow me, Skrulls, let's go to Earth. And that's cool. It's cool that, these Skrulls have a place to go to now, but aren't they wanted on Earth by the government? So like, why are you bringing them back to Earth when they're being hunted there? Why was that the decision? Really weird. Again, are we supposed to forget Secret Invasion existed? And more than that, if Captain Marvel knew that Skrulls had no place to go, or like wherever they were situated in, it was always in fear of a Kree invasion. And your decision was to your fallback decision was to put them on Earth. Why did you take, how many years was it from the first Captain Marvel to this one, right? Like, why did you have to wait that long? What are we talking about? Like 10 plus years, 15 years, I think, or more even. When Captain Marvel 1 happened, because like when Captain Marvel happened, she that's where she realized, she discovered that the Skrulls were refugees. And then from that movie to the Marvels, why did it take that long for you to decide to put them to Earth? New Asgard has been in Earth since Endgame. So like, why did it take that long? So it's like the logic that was running was just all over the place. Found that very inconsistent. And that also goes back to me not also liking Captain Marvel as a hero that much, because she's super strong, but at the same time, I don't understand her thought process with some things, So really all over the place with that one. That pretty much wraps up everything I have to say about the Marvels. Overall, it was a good movie. Is it the best Marvel movie? Definitely not. But also I think at this time, with the amount of Marvel movies and shows that have come out and will continue to come out, it's really hard. At one point, you're not going to be aiming for the top, right? But I would say that this is one of the better mid-tier Marvel movies. So with that, I would give this like a 3 out of 5. It's okay. Watch it when you're free, or watch it when it's out on Disney Plus. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Marvels. I'm curious if you guys have seen it. Did you guys enjoy it, or did you guys not enjoy it? If so, comment down below. And I'll be recording my Loki review after this. So if you've seen this, follow on next into my Loki spoiler review. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.